welcome back to another guy talking about movies. I'm KJ Duff, and today I'm talking about The Matrix Resurrections. Before I get into the review, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell to be notified of all future videos. If you have already, thank you. As a reward, I will confess to a crime you've committed, no questions asked. But you only get one, so make it count. If you haven't yet, I hate you. You make me sick. Thinking of you makes my brain peek in my skull. But damn it, I respect you. Let's plug into The Matrix. I'm starting to understand why people aren't subscribing. The film begins when Bugs, played by Jessica Henwick, captain of the Nemesis, and her operator Seek, played by Toby Onwumere, discover an old code while observing The Matrix. When Bugs goes in to investigate, she comes across a familiar scene. Trinity, cornered by police officers in a dilapidated apartment building, mysterious federal agents arriving at the scene to contain the situation, and a gravity-defying rooftop chase sequence. Bugs recognizes this as the story of The Matrix, most specifically, how the story of Neo begins. Only the moment she's witnessing from the shadows seems off. Trinity isn't really Trinity, and the agents aren't the agents. When Bugs' presence is compromised, she has no choice but to fight and find a way out before the agents get a hold of her. Seek warns Bugs that one of the agents' code is acting strangely. When she finds herself cornered in a key shop, she is saved by none other than Agent Smith, played here by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who reveals himself to be a coded version of Morpheus. When Bugs tells this programmed version of Morpheus that Neo is alive but stuck in the Matrix, they both set out to release him from his digital bondage. In this iteration, Neo, reprised again by Keanu Reeves, has been reinserted into the Matrix and again lives under his government name, Thomas Anderson. He works for a gaming company called Deus Machina, where he is a world-renowned game designer surrounded by a group of mindless leeches who worship the ground he walks on. What's the game that's made him the messiah of the gaming world? Why, the Matrix trilogy, of course. That's right, Thomas Anderson has turned his past life, which to him is nothing more than mere images from a cloudy dream, into a trivial game. During a meeting with his business partner, played here by Jonathan Groff, Thomas learns that their parent company, Warner Brothers, wants to make a sequel to the trilogy game and will do it with or without them. The meeting triggers a manic episode in Thomas, sending him to a session with his therapist, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who helps Thomas realize that he simply used his overactive imagination to turn a distressing fact into something of fiction. The therapist prescribes a refill of Thomas's medication and sends him on his way. Thomas takes the blue pill and continues on through the cycle of his life. Wake up, pop a blue pill, exercise, attend pitch meetings, game testing, coffee at Simulate, where he stalks a woman who reminds him of the Trinity in his game, played here by Carrie-Ann, eat, bathe, sleep, repeat. It leaves him so numb, it often feels like he's living the same moments with the same exact dialogue in different days. A hamster running purposelessly on a wheel. The routine is broken when, during a fire alarm evacuation, he is approached by Program Morpheus, who tries to reassure an unnerved Thomas that he is in fact still plugged into the Matrix. And if he wants to escape, he'll have to, again, take the red pill. Thomas refuses, but when he learns that Trinity is also trapped in the Matrix with him as a married mother of three named Tiffany, Thomas takes the red pill and is reborn into the land of the living as Neo, where he learns that the peace he, Trinity, and so many others sacrificed for was short-lived. It's up to Neo to again bring balance. However, in order to do that, he'll need Trinity, who though feels discontent with her life inside the Matrix, has grown complacent within it. Thus, the question remains. Will she choose to join Neo and fight against the designer of this new Matrix? Or will she choose to continue to live her meek life inside of it? The Matrix Resurrections is directed solo by Lana Wachowski, as well as written by her, David Mitchell, and Alexander Hemon. It is produced by Village Roadshow Pictures and Venus Castina Productions, distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures, and has a runtime of 148 minutes. I did not go into this film expecting it to change the world or to even blow my mind again. To heap that kind of expectation on any film is to already set it up for failure and set yourself up for disappointment. I hoped, however, that this film, which like Star Wars did in 1977, inspired a new generation of filmmakers, effects artists, and writers, both screen and literary alike, would at least deliver something of substance. However, when the movie was over, I found myself left with one thought. Was this necessary? In many ways, The Matrix Resurrections comes across as a meta-commentary on societal anxieties and the film industry's fascination with franchising, reboots, sequels, fan servicing, and the glue that holds it all together, nostalgia. As Morpheus puts it, nothing settles anxiety like nostalgia. However, the story the commentary is weaved into is just not strong enough to drive the point home, which is always going to be the challenge when returning to a world as large and immersive as The Matrix. Upon its initial release in 1999, The Matrix was an original concept that pushed past the boundaries of visual effects, yes, but most importantly, at the core of the film was an existential human story layered with complexities. This is not to say that the concept of the fourth installment of The Matrix is not interesting. Quite the contrary, there are a handful of moments that certainly are intriguing. With the running theme of the film being choice and whether or not it is an illusion, there is plenty of philosophy squeezed in. At one point in the movie, there is a quote by Don DeLillo spray painted in the bathroom stall where Neo is taking what I can only describe as a morose poop. Furthermore, the film introduces new technology within the world outside of the Matrix, like an exomorphic particle codex, which gives programs from the Matrix like Yaya's Morpheus physical access to the real world within limits. To keep Neo trapped and hidden, the Matrix altered his DSI, or digital self-image, so even though he saw himself as he is, the world saw him as an old, balding man. We also learned that it is no longer humans versus machines, as some machines have decided to join humans in their fight. The latter being an idea that did not work since the machines, who refer to themselves as synthients rather than machines for some reason, I guess that word is to them what the N-word is to me.
I thought that was your name. That is our word. You've got no right using it.
Did very little to impact the story. Again, great idea, poor execution. It's not enough to simply have an idea, there must also be purpose for revisiting a story that, in my opinion, was already complete. The setup is solid, that's not the problem. The problem for me is that I found the meta-commentary in the first act very interesting and thought it worth exploring. That idea that people no longer are looking for an escape, but rather have grown complacent with complacency, that's great. However, since that's not how the story went, it made that meta-commentary feel more like a message to fans advising them to lower their expectations. Or, at the very least, trying to cut off any criticism of this movie by already saying aloud what everyone was thinking. By the back half of the second act, the film diverts off the set path, struggling mightily to right the ship, but ultimately failing to do so. Another issue. So much time has passed between the last film and this sequel. This gap has given thirsty fans of this franchise the opportunity to gorge on all the Matrix material available. They know this world inside and out. Each Matrix film introduced an aspect of this world audiences were not familiar with. The first Matrix was the initial submersion. It wasn't just a taste, it was a buffet. The second was a further exploration of the world, the introduction to Zion, other captains, more programs, and the third was just the resolution to it all. Nothing has changed in the fourth except that now Zion has become Io, some of the machines are cute pets now, programs can exist and interact in the real world, and there are strawberries. Stranger still is that both worlds feel empty. Zion was populated with people. Where were they in Io? By the second film, the actual Matrix didn't matter because now that we knew the world is simulated, nothing about it felt authentic. That remains true in the fourth installment. There's even a new thing where the inhabitants of the Matrix have a hive mentality. If switched on, droves of people will mindlessly attack without warning. There's a scene where this is put into action and it does nothing because we feel nothing. The danger, the stakes, all of it loses its potency. Keanu and Carrie-Ann do their best to recapture their on-screen chemistry. There are glimpses of it the few times they share the screen. Unfortunately, it never quite gets there. Morpheus, who represented so much in the trilogy, is now a program that Neo creates. Rather than be an integral part of the story, he's more an afterthought in my opinion. Not that Yahya Abdul didn't do a good job, I appreciate that he wasn't trying to do a Lawrence Fishburne impression. He knew that wouldn't work, it never works. It's more of a critique on the writing failing to make his character really matter. I like Jessica Henwick's portrayal of Bugs. Her character was bold, brash, and endearing. She served as both the eyes and the voice of the audience. I think what throws me off is that not that she's young, but that the entire crew of the Nemesis is young and forgettable. For Neo, that must have felt like waking up from a coma and realizing you're being tended to by a bunch of kindergartners. Neil Patrick Harris tried. But oftentimes, especially at the film's climax, his acting felt like a one-dimensional parody of what a Hollywood villain usually is. I mean, at one point he's sitting in a chair petting a cat, divulging his evil plans. If that's what they were going for, he did a great job. But I doubt that's what it is. God, I hope not. Look, everyone tried. It just didn't work. Not for me. And aged up Jada Pinkett-Smith didn't work. Returning to her role as Niobe, Jada looked uncomfortable. I don't know if it was the makeup and the prosthetics, but she looked like she was too concerned with all of it sliding off of her face like sheets of snow from a rooftop if she emoted too much. Not saying aging up characters can't work. If you want a great example, go watch Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream. It just didn't work here. Splicing in moments from the trilogy also did not help. All that did was conjure up the desire to rewatch those films. Tacking on an end credit scene did not work. Why an end credit scene anyway? I didn't know there was an end credit scene until I was reading an article about it 4 days later. It's not really an end credit scene, but more like a deleted scene. Instead of parodying Hollywood, you're pulling from their playbook. Whatever meta commentary was made, however poignant, was undercut by the next line of dialogue that comes off as a rejected SNL skit. Just a poor attempt at satirization. I mean, can you imagine if Breathless had an end credit scene? Exterior, streets of Paris, day. Michel, mid-20s, devilishly handsome, fatally wounded, sprawled out on the cobblestone streets of Paris, surrounded by rubberneckers and gawkers. As the police shepherd the gathered onlookers away from the murder scene, we zoom in slowly, growing ever so close to Michel's lifeless face. His face fills the screen when suddenly his eyes shoot wide open and a devious grin ensnares his lips. The music swells until we cut to black. Oh, that actually sounds pretty good. Hey, Jean-Luc Godard, make it happen. Goosebumps. Initially, both Wachowskis passed on the notion of revisiting their world of The Matrix. Yet, while Lily Wachowski said in an interview with The Wrap that it would feel like going back to live in old shoes, Lana Wachowski grew to feel differently. After the death of her parents and a close friend, she found comfort in revisiting her characters Neo and Trinity. I respect that the film was a way for Lana Wachowski to have a cathartic release. Film, art in general, is a form of therapy for many, myself included, and she certainly has the right to use her characters as she deems fit. Many artists draw inspiration from personal life and past traumas in order to create. Ultimately, however, the film fails to transfer and funnel that inspiration into a solid piece of storytelling that would subvert obvious expectations, as it appears it already knew it wouldn't. Reportedly, Warner Brothers had been asking the Wachowskis to make more Matrix films after Resolutions, and they continually declined, even with the executives piling truckloads of money at their feet. These instances made it into the film. An inside look at how one imagines film marketing and branding works within the film industry, trying to appear original and fresh through artificial means. By the end of the movie, however, the story felt less like a commentary on anything and more like a needless epilogue to a classic book, a way to catch up with what has been going on in the world since we last visited, and retcon the dreary ending of the predecessor in favor of a more optimistic resolution. But the choice is yours. If you decide to watch this movie, you sacrifice nearly 2.5 hours to only be mildly entertained. Or you skip it and binge watch a subpar Netflix series for 8 hours. Not much of a choice, is it? If you do decide to watch it, at least you won't find yourself at the end of the road wondering if this was necessary. You'll already know the answer. No. And that does it for me. I've been KJ Duff. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell for notifications on my future videos. My next review was going to be The Tragedy of Macbeth, directed by Joel Cohen. However, since it's not playing in a theater near me for some reason, I did watch The French Dispatch by Wes Anderson last night. Thank you, Numa. And I'll be putting up a review for that in the next few days. I'll do a review for Macbeth whenever I get to see it, so do please come back and check it out. And hey, look, I didn't like this movie, but if you did, that's cool. Let me know why in the comment section below. Believe me, there is always a chance I missed something. I'm not exactly the sharpest bulb in the medicine cabinet. I'm just a guy talking about movies. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.